I'm good. And yourself?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me, man.
So our podcast is all about your journey in the music industry and how you got to where you are today.
Okay.
Cool. I love your Banksy picture back there. Just real quick.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Right there.
Yeah.
Actually, I bought it in Amsterdam. There
You
was
did?
an exhibition there, yeah, with the original one.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
yeah.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
you got to see, he had like a gallery set up.
Yeah, and they take pieces of walls, like because he does a lot of graffitis. But in the
Yeah.
gallery, they actually cut the wall, the original wall, and put it in the gallery. So it's
Oh,
crazy.
really?
Yeah.
So it's the actual piece of the wall that he painted
I don't
on.
remember that one exactly, but I know that some of the famous ones are there, like cut like with the bricks and everything.
Wow, that's
Yes,
crazy.
it's awesome. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, he even made like that amusement park. Did you see that?
Yeah, he did
It's
what?
it's like an abandoned amusement park he like kind of
Oh,
put
really?
together. Yeah, I
No,
forgot
I
what it
didn't
was
see it.
called. I think it's somewhere in the UK. Yeah, it's like
Oh, that's awesome. And nobody
yeah,
really knows who he is, right?
yeah, nobody knows what he looks like.
Yeah. There's some rumors he's one of the guys from I forgot the name.
Oh yeah, he's supposed to be like one of the members of
Massive
the
Attack.
band. Yeah,
Massive
Massive
Attack.
Attack. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That's the big rumor that it's the guy from Massive Attack or one of the members of Massive Attack, right?
That would be dope.
That would be dope. So cool, man. Well, again, thank you so much for doing this. So are you in Brazil now?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Originally from there, born and raised?
Yeah, yes, I was. Well, my dad is Dutch. All my dad's family is from Holland. Well, my name is really Dutch, Theo Vanderloo. It's really, really Dutch. But I was born and raised here. My mom's Brazilian. I spent a lot of my life in Holland because I have a lot of family there.
Mm-hmm.
But I was raised in Brazil.
Okay. Like you just go there for like what, summers and stuff? Like
Yeah, like
traveling?
probably for 20 years. I would go there a month a year every year.
Oh,
And
cool.
and then the last times I was there was with the band. So it wasn't like because the European summer is when a lot of the festivals and shows happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm there with the band and doesn't really have time to be in Holland, but we always play Holland. So
That's cool. That's cool. Kind of like a coming home show, so
yeah,
to speak, for you. That's rad.
it was great. Yeah.
Nice. Well, how did you get into music?
Well, Well, it's since I remember, man. But I grew up. My dad always loved music, and since I remember, my dad would play Genesis in the car and Supertramp, a lot of those European bands, Focus, Hocus Pocus, that album I heard so many times with my dad. Then Phil Collins, bunch of European rock music I heard with my dad in the car. Since I remember, I can remember when was the first time I heard rock music with my dad. And as I grew a little bit, I really got into Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
And yeah, I remember when they were touring with Appetite for Destruction when I first heard of them, and it was like actually I think I got for birthday a vinyl of Appetite for Destruction.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would listen every morning, man. Like I used to go to school really early, like 7:30 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So I would wake up around 6 just so I could have like half an hour to listen to Appetite for Destruction for like a year. So I
Get
just
your
remember,
day started.
yeah, like my huge headphones, and then I remember I would get whatever I would have for breakfast. I would just sit down in front of the vinyl and just listen to it, like looking at the cover. And then I remember they released Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, and I was like crazy about it. The same thing. So for at least 2 or 3 years, I would listen to every morning to Guns N' Roses, like every early morning. And I didn't even want to know about any other band. People were telling me about Iron Maiden, and I don't care. I want Guns N' Roses, and then I remember listening to it that I felt so connected to the songs, and I felt that it really represented some feelings I had. I think that's the thing about when you're a kid, you have this bunch of feelings that you don't really understand.
Mhm.
And music somehow helps you deal with it, you know. And my dad got divorced from my mom when I was like 7 years old. So maybe that was, I don't know, maybe that was related to all those mixed feelings I would have, because I wouldn't even live in the same city as my dad. So that was kind of a tricky thing for me. So maybe music helped with it somehow. And at some point, I learned about Metallica. That was like my second like band that I would love, and eventually became the band I loved the most. But it's funny story how I learned about Metallica, because I knew the name,
Mhm.
but back we are talking 90, 91, 92, you know, 93, and back then
The
you would
early fast Metallica.
yeah, and you would really buy a album for the artwork, right?
Mhm.
You would choose a new vinyl or a new band by the artwork of the cover, right? So at some point I decided to give Iron Maiden a chance, just because I heard all the stories of Eddie and
Oh
how the
yeah.
covers had a lot of messages, and I was like, okay. So I was in this you know, those secret friends that you do, a secret Santa that you
Oh
do
yeah,
at
yeah.
the end of the year. Yeah, in Brazil we call secret friend. So with a secret Santa in school, I asked for any Iron Maiden album. I just wanted because of the cover, right? So I just asked for any. And this girl who had no clue about what Iron Maiden was, she messed up the name with Metallica. So she gave me the Black Album,
Oh
and
wow.
it was a little disappointing, because I was expecting for that crazy artwork with
Yeah.
Eddie and demons everywhere, and I
Right.
got this Black Album, you know, with no drawing at all, just
Yeah.
like
The
just
little
pitch
snake in
black.
the corner.
Yeah, you could barely see it, right?
Mhm.
So I was so disappointed by it, and then I was like, shit. People realized, you know, in school, the kids looked at me. Everybody knew I was looking for, because I had my other friends. Everybody was into rock, and everyone except the girl understood that she messed up. And I looked at it, and I was a little disappointed. And she kind of realized that, oh, you can change for another one, you know. And I got the store address, and I was supposed to go there and change it. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a chance. And then I heard to the Black Album, and I was blown away. I mean, the sound of that album, it's just.
Oh.
And I never bought an Iron Maiden album. I went to Metallica. Like I went to. It became like the band of James Hetfield is probably like the front man I admired the most through my
Mhm.
teenage years. So yeah, like in a nutshell, you know. And then at some point I decided to play guitar. I think since I was listening to Guns N' Roses, I was already like looking at Slash and thinking like
Sure.
I want to play that, you know.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny, always wanted to write songs, you know. I always wanted to. I was always like, I was never too much into playing cover songs. I always wanted to say something. I think the connection I felt with those bands made me want to connect to other people in the same way.
Mhm.
So yeah, I got my first guitar when I was 12 or 13 years old, and since then I've been playing, and sometimes in my life more than others, and for the last 5 years I've been playing a lot. So
Mhm. Yeah. So you got the guitar.
yeah,
Didn't you said you didn't weren't doing a lot of covers, just started writing songs. What was the
yeah.
first band you joined or
Well,
started?
yeah. Well, I did learn. I think the first guitar riff that I learned was well, the first of all was "Nothing Else Matters." I don't know if you play any guitar, but like you don't need to. You don't. You only need your right hand to
Oh,
play the
right.
beginning of the song. So that was the first thing I learned. And then I learned "Enter Sandman." That was like the first real guitar riff that I learned. And I would just keep playing that same guitar riff, you know, the main one. Like, I would just
Yeah.
play that for like 10 minutes in a row. And, and that was the first guitar riff I learned. And I did learn some Metallica solos. I learned then around the same time Paradise City from Guns N' Roses. I could barely play Switch Out of Mind, but then I struggled with it, and eventually I learned.
Mhm.
Um, and then very quickly I wanted to put a band together in school, you know, like and there was this thing in my school that everybody was playing guitar, you know, everybody, it became kind of a fashion thing.
Right.
So eventually I had a band with 3 guitars and no drums, no bass, nothing. And
Three
Yeah,
guitarists.
I don't think we had a name. I don't think we had a name, man. And then very soon I had a band with a really lame name called Angels of Mercy because and we were, really wanted to do this heavy metal music.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I was always in a band, and I usually I was the one starting the band. I was never invited to join a band. I always started a band. So
Oh, interesting.
it was always starting bands and looking for musicians and inviting people to play with me. And I always had this vibe of wanting, just keep moving. I didn't have much patience to wait. People like I would change a band. I would literally like break up a band because I would feel okay. People are not really engaged. I don't want to waste my time. I
Mm-hmm.
want to make my music. So I was like always, I would maybe pick one guy from a band and say, come, let's make another one. And he would be like, but you put this band together. I said, yeah, but nobody really cares about rehearsing. And I don't want to be pushing, So eventually I had a real band together and then we recorded albums. We toured Europe and that was around 2002, something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I toured with this band was called in Portuguese it's called Saioa. The way it's spelled you would say Saioa, and it means brother in indigenous language. And we used to mix like really heavy music with Brazilian drums, like Brazilian samba drums, like those huge fat drums. And we toured with Sepultura in Europe. We did some touring for like 5 or 6 years, and that was like the first real gig that I had. And I was a singer. I used to sing in the band.
Oh, okay.
That was and it's funny because of that band. That was how I met the guys that now we have Eagle Q Talent. That I met during this Saioa cycle because actually the drummer of that band that I used to have is also in Eagle Q Talent.
Oh.
And yeah, and the way Eagle Q Talent came to happen was Jean, who is also a drummer, he used to play drums for Sepultura, right?
Oh, he did. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he
Wow.
played he played drums for Sepultura for like 7 years,
Wow.
and yeah, and then we toured together, and we became friends, and then you fast forward a few years. I wasn't in a band anymore. Actually, I became a festival promoter. I used to promote music festivals, and
Huh.
I start doing it because I wanted my band to play. But then eventually, the festivals became so big, and I was so focused on it. And this guy Rafael, who used to play drums on that other band, Saioa, he became my partner on the music festival. So we started doing music festivals, and I wasn't playing guitar at all for like 5 years. I
Wow.
wasn't touching a guitar. I was like, it's so much stress around putting together a music festival that I didn't even have much more like passion for listening to music at all. I was just like, I remember my iPod only had like Buddhist meditations and other kind of stuff. I was so stressed with the music industry, and I wasn't playing guitar for like 5 or 6 years. And then Jean left Sepultura, and he called me, and he goes like, I just left Sepultura. Do you want to grab a coffee? And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Because we had one thing in common. None of us was from São Paulo, and both of us we were living in São Paulo.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna go. So we went for a coffee, and he said, I don't know if I'll go back to my city, where he's from, Belo Horizonte, or if I will stay here. And he was like, what are you doing? And I said, yeah, man, I'm still like promoting music shows, festivals, but I'm not happy with it. I'm just, it's a little too much stress and not much happiness. And he was like, why don't we jam? I said, well, I haven't touched my guitar in like 5 years. My amplifiers, all my gear I had like, I had some in Rio, some with a friend, some in a studio that I just lend them to use as much as they wanted. And he was like, you fucking crazy, man, let's just jam. So we started to jam, and we liked what came out of it. And we were like, shit, maybe we can actually really put a band together. And it was like, I thought that would be funny because in my head, that chapter of being a musician was gone in my life, And then what happened was I was already very close friends with John Dolmayan from System of a Down.
Oh,
System of a
wow.
Down. Yeah. I knew him because of my festival days, and we became really good friends. And actually, the whole band, Serge, but mostly John and Serge, I'm really close to both of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're super nice people. And then John, he came to Brazil for vacations, And I was like, man, I gotta tell you something. And he was like, what? I said, as we were driving to the studio, I was like, I'm driving you to my studio, and I have a band now. He was like, "You fucking kidding me?" I said, because he didn't even know that I used to play, right?
Right.
And he was like, "Are you kidding me? You have a band?" I said, "Yeah, and I want to show it to you. I want to show it. I want to play like 3 songs. We didn't have a singer. It was just like instrumental."
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Man, if it's a shit, I'm gonna tell right into your face, because that's how John is, He said, "I won't be polite. If I don't like it, I will tell you it sucks in front of your friends." I said, "Fine. I want to know what you think." And then we played for him like 3 songs that end up on the first album. And he was like, "Okay, guys, I think you got something real here. I think you are a real band."
Mm-hmm.
And man, when you have someone like him telling you this, right? I mean, System of a Down is a headliner in any festival in the planet.
Oh, they're
So
massive.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I was like, "Really, man? You really think so?" He said, "Yes." I remember his words were, "I think you guys have a diamond." That's what I think he said. "I think you guys have a diamond. You need to work on it to polish, but you have a diamond." And I was
Wow.
like, "Whoa." And then I remember like 2 days after this, he went back to the US, and we were like, "Okay, guys, let's take the next steps. Let's find a singer. Let's start recording." And yeah, that's pretty much the story in a nutshell. That's how we put the band together.
Wow. And
Yeah.
from him coming to your practice or you playing him those 3 songs, would you said did you record right away? Like, I know
Yeah.
you guys were able to, you've
We
played with System, and I know you've done stuff with like Foo Fighters. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So after when he left, we didn't have a singer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, actually, John wanted to introduce us to this guy he knows from Las Vegas that is a singer, and to join the band. But we felt like we should try Jonathan, who is the singer of Eagle Q Talent, because I already
Mm-hmm.
knew him for like 15 years, and I think he's a great singer. And then I was like, okay, before we try this guy that John suggested, I think we should give this friend of mine a chance, because Jonathan was already pretty big in Brazil, because he had this other band that sings in Portuguese though, but that is pretty massive in the south of Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew he wanted to have a band singing in English, so I called him and I was like, "Look, man, I have this project. Do you want to check it out?" So he flew to São Paulo, and it was immediately. He listened to like the 3 demos that we had, and he just came back with vocals ideas like in a week, and we felt like, okay, let's record an EP.
Mm-hmm.
So that was 2015, I guess. I think it was like December 2015. So we flew Steve Avitz from LA to Brazil, because we have our studio here. So we flew him to record at our studio. And Steve worked with Sepultura in 2 or 3 albums, and he worked with The Cure, Dillinger Escape Plan, with
Wow.
he worked with a bunch of artists. So we already knew him. Actually, Jean knew him from his Sepultura days. So he came in, we recorded 3 songs, and we felt like, okay, here's the thing. When we decided to bring him, we felt like, okay, if we are doing this thing for real, we got to do with people that we think are the best in what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Because we could have had someone from Brazil recording the EP. We could have recorded ourselves, because we have a studio. Jean is a producer.
Mm-hmm.
But we felt like, no, let's push it. Let's push it for the next level. Let's bring like a big producer, even if it's just the EP. Let's make it as good as it can get. So that's the thing that is with us the whole time. We play this game of music the best we can in every aspect. About recording, writing songs, making videos, shows. We just push to the limit to be as good as we can be.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why we decided to fly Steve to Brazil. And so we recorded 3 songs. and we had nothing, man. We had absolutely nothing. We didn't have a like a digital distributor. We didn't have management. We didn't have absolutely nothing. Like
Mhm.
we didn't even thought about the label. We had nothing. But because of my festival music producer experience, I knew some people from the music industry in Brazil.
Mhm.
So and Jonathan the same. And so through a friend that used to work on Warner, we got introduced to this digital distributor. Basically, it's just one of those distributors that you upload your song and then they have it all over all platforms, like
Oh,
Spotify
okay.
and music, you know.
Mhm.
But like no media, no marketing plan, just upload
Right.
your
It
thing.
just goes there. There's
It
no
just
like
goes there. Yeah, but
amongst the millions and millions of other
exactly.
songs. Right. Got
Exactly.
it.
So when we understood that, we were like, okay, so we're gonna upload the songs and nobody will know about it. So what we tried to do was we start to, before we uploaded the songs, the 3 songs that we had, we started to talk to people in the industry and say, hey, if you know anyone from Spotify, you know, we are uploading the song in like 2 weeks. We any help, you know. So we just tried to bring some awareness that the band existed, right?
Mhm.
And that really worked because then this girl from Warner Music, she really liked the band, and she listened to it. And by the way, we never signed with Warner. We are with BMG.
Right.
We signed with Warner Chappell for publishing, but not Warner or Warner like
Warner Records.
Warner Records. So she listened to it. She really liked it, and then she called this guy from Spotify. And I don't know if you know that, but those Spotify playlist editors, they're not easy to get help. It's really hard to get in touch with them. They are not
Yeah.
easy to be found, you know, because
They're
they
like
don't.
gatekeepers.
They are the gatekeepers. So at some point, this song, I think in like 2 weeks, it became top 50 viral in Brazil.
Wow.
Yeah, and we only had like 3 songs recorded, and then we learned that this friend from Warner, she reached this guy from Spotify, and the guy, he was the senior playlist editor, and he fell in love with the band. He's a big rock lover, you know. And then we all of the blue, we had this crazy situation that everybody was trying to get, you know, in touch with those editors, but the main guy got in touch with us because he really liked the band.
Yeah,
And
that's cool.
that's when we had nothing. We had no label. We had nothing. I don't think we didn't have the publisher. We had nothing. And so we started getting some traction. And look, man, I'm talking a lot about the business because I understood that's what this podcast is about, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, this is perfect. Yeah, I
Okay, cool.
love it.
Okay, so things started to develop, and then at some point, I was like, okay, when would be the right moment for me to approach the people I know in LA? Because of my past with as a festival music producer,
Mhm.
I knew agencies, I knew agents, I knew managers, I knew people from the music industry, but I didn't knew them as a musician. I
Mhm.
knew them as a promoter. So, and that's a tricky line to be crossed. That's a really tricky line to be crossed because when you are perceived as a promoter, the agents don't want to talk with you about your music passions. They want to talk with you about show me the money, you know. So
Sure.
it's not people would think that, oh, okay, but if you know the managers that would help. Yeah, not that much because it happened more than once where I would go to managers and agents that I knew for like 5 or 6 years, and I would write them about a festival, and they would reply me in 2 minutes, and I would write them about my new band. It would never reply me at all.
Hmm.
So I only did that like once or twice because I soon understood the game, and then I was like, okay, I won't ask for any favors. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my best through the music industry channels as an artist, and they're going to hear about it. And then they will connect the dots that that's me. And then maybe they will take me serious, right?
Mhm.
And that was exactly what happened. Because what happened was I played like I didn't know anyone in LA. I was just like, let me focus on the art, let me focus on the music, let me focus on what we do. And because of that, we ended up signing a management deal in Brazil with a Brazilian, big Brazilian management company from Brazilian artists. But keep in mind, man, it's not easy to do well with rock music in Brazil if you sing in English. If you're a Brazilian, I mean, if you are an American band, that's perfect. But if you're a Brazilian band singing in English in your own country, Brazilians go like, hey, why are you not singing in Portuguese?
Really?
Yeah. So that was a tricky thing. And for the first year, a lot of people in Brazil thought we were Americans.
Huh.
And we just let them thought,
Yeah.
and we were okay. And so we signed a deal with the Brazilian management and agency, because in Brazil it's the same. It's different than the US. In the US, you have a manager and an agent, but in Brazil, it's the same guy. So
Okay.
we signed with the company here, and they are pretty good, but they are Brazilian artists, most of it they are to sing in Portuguese. So we signed with them, but since the beginning I was like, look guys, I love you, but at some point we want to sign with an international manager, an international agent, because that's where we were aiming. And they understood that, so that was something we had on our mind since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the recording, the first EP did so well that we decided to record the full album. And what we did is we had 3 songs released as one EP, and then we recorded another 7, and we decided the other 7 to slice it in 2 more EPs. And then when the third EP was out, those 3 EPs together would be the first album.
Oh, okay.
So we released 3 songs, and then 4 songs, and then another 3 songs, and all this combined became the first album.
Okay. So the first, so Stay Here or Still Here, and
Still Here is the one.
Yeah. So those all 3 of those EPs are the self-titled record.
Exactly. So that was how we sliced it, and this is actually something that really works with this new, I would say, era, digital music, because you need to keep releasing stuff, so the DSPs understand that you are relevant, and and people are spoiled. People want content all the time, so to just split it like this, I think that really helped to build the buzz. And so as things started to develop, we had our first tour with with System of a Down in Europe.
Jeez.
And
the first tour you guys ever did was with System?
In outside of Brazil. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. That actually played Chile too before that, I guess. But we went with System, and we had some festivals confirmed, and then I just called John, and he said, let's do it. I said, yeah, man, because we're going there, we're going to be there. He said, call our manager, talk to him. So I called Bino, their manager, who I also know is a friend, and he had us on board. And that was how we went to that tour with System of a Down in Europe. And it was a blast. I mean, it was unbelievable, man, to be touring with those guys. It's huge,
How big was this venues were you playing? Like 20,000?
It was like, dude, yeah. Like we played this Coliseum from the Roman time. The Romans built it, I don't even know how many years ago, but in France, and that was like surreal, man. Called Arène de Nimes. If you pull it on Google, Arène de Nimes, it's like, it's unbelievable. It's like insane. So we did that, and we started doing better and better in Brazil, and then at some point the Foo Fighters announced a tour here, and then I got that. I know the Foo's manager quite well, John Silva. He became a very, very good friend of mine. Actually, him and all his family, his wife, his kids. I became friends with him from my promoter days, but I respect him so much and I like him so much that I didn't want to ask a favor. Because here's the thing, man, in this industry, if I would go to him and say, hey, can you have me on the tour? I didn't want to put him in a position where maybe they would have to say no and feel embarrassed saying no to a friend. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's a tricky situation. So I was like, when I heard about the Foo Fighters tour in Brazil, Foo Fighters and Queens of the Stone Age, 5 stadiums, I had like mixed feelings, because I was like, should I ask a favor for John Silva, or should I respect our relationship and not mix things around, because I don't want to embarrass him if maybe he just can't do it. And I decided not to ask. So I never asked him to be on that tour. But for my surprise, man, one day, and that was one of the happiest days of since that I can remember. We had played Rock in Rio, which is, Rock in Rio is a huge festival.
Yeah, huge festival. Mm-hmm.
So we had played Rock in Rio like on a Saturday, and it was great. We had like the review of the best rock act of the edition. That was amazing. So that was like on a Saturday,
mm-hmm.
and I was already like walking in the clouds because of that, because I was so happy with the Rock in Rio show. And then my phone starts ringing, and it's John Silva. And then I just saw like Silva's office, and then I picked up the phone, and he goes like, Theo. I said, yes. And then he just says like four dates. Do you have anything booked for? And then he gave me the dates. And I was like, no, I don't. He said, I want to give you some dates with the Foos. I said, really? He said, yes. Everybody keeps saying your band should do this. And I think the Foo Fighters Brazilian fan club was also our fans. So the Foo Fighters Brazilian fan club said to Foo Fighters management that we should be the Brazilian band to support them. And then I was like, John, are you kidding me? Man, I would love it,
Yeah.
And then he was like, yeah, Live Nation Brazil also mentioned they would like to have you. They're doing the tour. So hold these dates.
Right.
And I was like, okay. And then before he had hang up, he was like, yeah, but you were playing Lollapalooza too close to one of the dates in São Paulo. So I might not be able to give you São Paulo. And I was sad, but at the same time, okay, whatever, man.
Right, yeah.
Give one stadium with the Foos and Queens, and I'm more than happy, And I was just like, okay, John, but listen, it's over a month apart from the two shows, and Lollapalooza is already selling out. I don't think that will be a problem for them.
Oh, is it the Lollapalooza that was happening down in Brazil?
Yeah, because the Foo Fighters show in São Paulo was scheduled for like 5 weeks before the Lollapalooza. And Lollapalooza was already announced with us on the bill. I forgot to mention that. So we were already confirmed and announced for Lollapalooza, and the Foo Fighters would be five weeks prior to that, and he didn't want to be in trouble.
Right.
And that story will be funny when it will come full circle.
Okay.
Then what happened was I hung up with John, and I called Lola because I knew a guy from Lola, the guy who booked the artist in Lola. So I called him and I go like, hey, I have this situation. We have a chance to play with the Foos in São Paulo 5 weeks before Lola, but the Foos management, they don't want to cause any trouble to Lola. Would it be okay if we do it? And then the guy of Lola Brazil, the booker, he goes like, give me 10 minutes, I'll call you back. And then 10 minutes later, he calls me back. He said, no problem, go ahead and do it. That's going to be huge for you guys. You should do it. And so I wrote John Silva, and I said, look, that would be fine. Lollapalooza is fine with us doing both. And he was like, no, I don't know. I don't want to step in anyone's toes. I don't know. Maybe you won't have São Paulo. I said, okay, that's fine. And then like a month after that, they announced the tour with us in São Paulo as well.
Oh, wow.
So that was how I learned that
that you guys were doing both?
That we were doing both, yeah.
Wow.
It was literally on the announcement day with all the dates on the poster and our name in all the dates. And I was like, fuck yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
yeah, that was, I mean, that was surreal. I mean, we played 5 stadiums with Queens of the Stone Age and Foo Fighters, and that was mind blowing. I mean, those guys are gods, man. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
Dave Grohl is the nicest guy you will ever meet. You know, it's like it was crazy, and he was super nice to us. They treated us so well, and all the crew, everyone. It was surreal. It was real, and we played Maracanã, which is the biggest stadium in Brazil. It
Whoa.
really was special. Yeah,
That's really amazing. So
yeah.
when did you guys start doing the switching out the instruments and all of that part of your show?
Well, that happened because of the writing process. You know, when we were writing music, here's what happened. We have 2 drummers in the band,
Okay.
and the reason we had 2 drummers in the band is because when we start jamming, me and Jean, we were jamming me. So we had 2 guitars and a drummer. That was
Uh-huh.
the first elements of the band were 2
Hmm.
guitars and a drummer. And then Rafael, who is this friend of mine that I told you that played with me in that other band, he's also a
Hmm.
drummer. So at
Oh
some
wow.
point, he was like, "I wanna join the band," because he heard some like demos that we had, and he was like, "I want to join the band." And it was like, "Look, man, we already have a drummer. You know, Jean
Hmm.
is a drummer, amazing drummer. He used to play in Sepultura. So
Yeah.
I would love to have you." And Rafael is an amazing drummer, and as well. And it was like, "I would love to have you, but we already have a drummer." He said, "I don't care. I play bass." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, I can play bass. I just want to play with you guys." We said, "Okay." So Rafael joined the band to play bass. So we started jamming like this and writing songs like this even before we had a singer. And then one day, Jean came into the studio with the guitar. Jean plays guitar really well, like really well. So he
Isn't that,
came.
it's funny how that is with drummers or like one musician in the
Yeah,
band that's just better than everyone at, like Paul
yeah,
McCartney. You know what I
exactly.
mean? Yeah. He can play better than Ringo, everybody or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
it's
funny how that is.
crazy. Yeah, and then Jean just came with the guitar and the guitar riff, and he started playing that guitar. He said, "What do you guys think about this?" And then he started playing it, and I was like, "Man, this is fucking great. This is really good." And he was like,
Mhm.
"Raphael, can you go to the drums just so we can write this song?" And then Raphael went to the drums, and I picked the bass, and I was like, "Okay, let's play like this, just to write this one song."
Mhm.
So we rehearsed for like 4 hours with this lineup, and when the song was done, we were like, "It sounds really good with Raphael on the drums and Jean on the guitars." So we're like, "Hey, why don't we just play this song with this lineup?"
Mhm.
And everybody was like, "Yeah, let's do it. You know, let's embrace the challenge." And so from that day on, we when we are writing music and writing like new songs, we really look for what the song asks for. So
Mhm.
some songs we feel like it works best with one lineup. Some songs we feel like works best with another lineup, and we just try to keep the song as it was when we felt that it was conceived. Because sometimes it also happens like Jean can come with a guitar idea, but for some reason we feel it sounds better if I'm the guitar and he's in the drums because it just sounds better. So it's not necessarily who brought the first idea of the song is going
Mhm.
to be playing that instrument. We might like some songs we write everyone holding a guitar, like everybody gets a guitar and then we write the song and then we go, okay, so who's going to play what on this one, you know? So it's really about the writing process. It's only about that. That's why we change instruments.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah, instead of just having, everybody learn the part or whatever, just switching it up. That's super creative.
Yeah, it was, and it's fun. I mean, it's really we love doing it.
And now it's kind of like a staple for you guys. People
Yeah,
like are stoked to see it.
yeah, and it's crazy because for us it's already so natural. You know, we don't even notice. It's like it's funny. So when we are on tour, like we do this every night, right? And then on the
Yeah.
on the fifth night, we don't even think about it.
Realize you,
And,
yeah.
and then when we got on the stage, people go like, "Oh man, it's so cool when you guys switch instruments." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's true. We do that." You know,
Yeah.
you forget about it. It's just like
Yeah.
it's part of what it is. You know.
Hmm. That's
Yeah.
funny. And you have a new record coming out.
Yeah.
I did
We
see
are,
a Bob Burnquist on it. Tell me about
yeah,
that. What did
yeah.
he do? A
Actually,
kickflip?
we are playing a show with him on a drive-in stadium in 2 weeks, where
Wow,
he's gonna skate and we're gonna play,
that's
and
awesome.
it was just announced on the weekend, and we are really happy. He's such a cool guy, man.
I've met
He's
him a few times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
I
so
was a
cool.
huge skateboarder growing up, and then they do this really cool. We're in San Diego, California, and they do
Okay.
this really cool thing every year. It's called Grind for Life, and they
Mm.
raise money for cancer. And Bob Burnquist has skated it a few years now, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's the best, man.
Yeah,
He's
like
like
Tony Hawk's there, and Bucky Lastic, a lot of the guys from Birdhouse, and yeah, and
crazy.
Bob Burnquist.
And Bob is crazy. I mean, he's crazy with
Oh
his
yeah.
stuff that he does. I mean, it's insane. Once we were on the van, like, because he's close to the whole band. We are really good friends. Like, so
Mhm.
whenever we are playing in Brazil, like in Rio or São Paulo, if he's in Brazil, he usually just goes there. And many times he just go into the stage while we are playing, and he skates, and
Oh
so
wow! So he'll be a part of your show.
yeah. Well, if you put like Eagle Q Talent Bob Burnquist on YouTube, I think he did this in Lollapalooza and Rock in Rio, and so he's once we were like driving back from Lollapalooza, and we were like in the van, like the band van, and he was there with us. And then out of the blue, he just open like while the van is it's like driving, he just opens the door of the van with his skate and jumps out of the van and like goes down the hill.
What?
What? And then his wife was sitting right there, and that was the craziest thing. She didn't even move.
Didn't even
She was so
flinch.
she didn't even flinch. She's so used to it. Like she kept looking straight. Like she didn't even look like to the door. And I was like, "Did you see what just happened?" She said, "Yeah, he does this all the time." Like, sometimes he goes on the top of the car while the car is like, while she's
Oh
driving.
my!
He's nuts. But
Oh my God!
yeah, so he's in the album too. He records some percussions in one of the songs. He plays percussion, and we recorded the album at the 606 studio in LA, the Foo Fighters
Oh, Foo
studio.
Fighters studio. That's the
Yeah,
old Sound City, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The Sound City board is there, and Bob lives like 2 hours from
Yeah, he
LA.
lives in San Diego.
Yeah, it's I forgot it's San Clemente, that beach.
Yeah, he lives over there, right? He
It's
lives.
nearby. It's not San Clemente, but it's close by.
Uh huh.
So he drove to the studio to visit us and to hang, and in the day that he was there, we were recording some percussions, and he plays percussion. So we were like, do you want to be on it? And he was like, yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, so we have a skateboarder world champion in our album.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
That's
it's really
amazing.
cool.
And you have a documentary coming out?
Yeah, we filmed everything in at the 606, and we are putting together this short doc, just showing like how it was being there, and Bob is in it, and we also have like John from System of a Down. He recorded drums in one song, so he's also in it, and just that place, it's amazing. 606 is amazing.
Wow, that's exciting. So, is the record done? The new record?
Yeah, the record is done. Actually, this year we were supposed to be touring with Metallica, and yeah, and we were supposed to tour with Metallica. I think it was March. It would have done. Maybe it will happen next year. Probably it will. But it was supposed to be us, Greta Van Fleet, and Metallica.
Wow.
And yeah, so we would do Brazil, and then we would do Mexico and the Danny Wimmer festivals. And from that, we would go to Europe to tour with System of a Down again in Europe and do some European festivals. And then we would go back to the US to do some shows. But with the COVID situation, everything got pushed.
Sure.
So we had to revisit the album release strategy, because initially what we were planning to do was release the full album with the Metallica tour in March.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, I think we would release the first single with the Metallica tour in March and the full album with the System of a Down tour in Europe. But with the COVID situation, we decided to, you know, hold back and think about it. We did that, and the plan now is to slice it in 3 EPs, like we did with the first album.
Okay.
So we already released the first EP. We are
Mhm.
releasing the second EP towards the end of the year, probably November, December.
Mhm.
And then the third EP that will make the full album in April, probably.
Very cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's the record that you recorded in LA at that studio, at the 606 studio. Cool.
Exactly. That's
That
it.
is awesome.
That's the one.
What about right now during COVID? What have you guys been doing? Have you been at live stream shows?
Yeah, we did the live stream shows. They went pretty well. We shot a series of 6 studio live sessions.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and we will release it probably till the end of the year, like in different YouTube channels everywhere. We are writing some new songs already because that's really what you can do the best during the COVID.
Right.
We haven't even released the full album, and we are already writing new stuff. And yeah, that's good. It's productive, and we will do this big stadium show with Bob in like 2 weeks.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah.
So that's a drive-in show, and he'll be skating.
Drive-in at the big stadium here in São Paulo. That would be a different experience, man. That would be different.
That'll be exciting. Are you guys excited about it?
Yes, we are, man, because we haven't played live since I guess Rock In Rio last year. So it's
whoa.
Yeah.
What about practicing? You guys were able to get together?
Yeah, when we did the live streaming show from our studio, we all tested for COVID, and then we rehearsed for like 10 days.
Oh, okay.
And we will do the same now, starting on Wednesday, and start practicing it. But you know, with the digital era, everybody have a home studio, and we can really practice. Like I have the whole album in my computer, so I can just mute my guitar and play along.
Oh, sure. To the records and stuff. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a really good way to practice.
Yeah.
At home. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Theo, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I have one more question. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Yes. Do it with love, man, because I've been in bands where you are too much concerned about being famous or getting there. You know, you never get there. You know, it's a constant building up. You know, and I see big artists and they still in the mode of building it. You know, so love what you do and you never be working. You know, you're gonna be doing what you love. So when you write, it's really all about the music. It's the business side of it is really important, but the music must be good. The songs, they need to connect to people. So when you write them, give your best. You know, don't convince yourself if the song doesn't makes you, you know, proud and makes you feel that represents you. Let it go. Let the next one come and work on it until you think it is it. You know. Bringing it backward.